What's up, welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Meowv's second EP, Bite Now. It's been about a year since their previous release. Meowv, almost 2 years into their career at this point, as the first group debuted on the Black label under that YG Entertainment umbrella. Of course, there was a lot of hype going into the debut of Meowv because they're like the only new group on the Black label at that time. And that track record has been solid thus far, but far from spectacular. And perhaps most surprisingly to me is that Meowv isn't finding like a massive commercial performance, at least here in the States as far as I can tell, especially when you compare them to some of their peers on the other big labels that are finding just much bigger success and having really big breakthrough tracks. Hands Up is clearly their biggest song since that debut single. You know, last year they also had the single Burning Up, which was pretty solid, but not like a massive runaway hit by any means. My biggest takeaway from Meowv's second EP, Bite Now, is a familiar one. The potential is very clear, but the results are not there consistently. This is quite clearly a very vocally talented group, and when they're on songs that give them a chance to show those chops, they do deliver. However, whether it's production choices or song structures, a lot of times Meowv finds themselves a part of uninspired music. With this new EP, Bite Now, there's definitely some flair. This is most evident on the new title track Didi Ro Re, which is very overtly sampling Johann Sebastian Bach's Toccata and Fugue in D minor. Of course, the iconic organ notes. Does Meowv actually do anything that interesting with such an iconic sample? No, not really, and that's disappointing. Of these 5 songs, I think they're largely perfectly fine, but nothing is really that spectacular, nothing is really that cool. And I'm to the point now where I just expect a little bit more than what we've been getting to this point. Because Meowv is within that YG umbrella at the Black label, it's not a surprise that they haven't exactly released a lot of music either. But what we're getting is just so-so. I did enjoy the house drum loop on In My Hands, but I think the stark repetitiveness of that hook really wore out its welcome. Same thing with that pump up refrain and Hit 'em. After you hear it the 5th time, it starts to lose its punch. Continuing to root for Meowv, but I just gonna need a little bit better. What I do appreciate about the group as well is that they are quite involved with their own musical choices. I mean, Naren, Ella, and Gawan have co-writing credits on multiple songs on the EP. They've released some behind the scenes, in the studio type clips, seeing them work through and work out the musical choices and the delivery styles and things like that. That's great. And I think that bodes well for the future. That first song, Hit 'em, the beat right away, there's very noticeable kick drum and that refrain, which is not Meowv vocals, it's a sample of some kind. I do really think it pumps you up energy-wise, and I think the verses also have a nice flow to them as well. Interesting choice that the pre-chorus kind of downshifty, but then it brings you back up into the refrain just for the chorus once again. It just kind of fizzles out for me. I do think this song, though, would work decently well as a live show introduction, just because the way it builds. I think you could kick off a set with a song like that. Of course, I talked about the Bach sample with Didi Ro Re. Notably, the delivery, it's very talky. It's like in between singing and not quite rapping either. In one of the behind the scenes video, you heard Ella calling it out. It was like a breathy delivery. I don't know if that was that good of a choice, though. I think I prefer they commit to one side or the other in that respect. At the end, you do have those chanty group vocals on the outro over more trap drums, very reminiscent of a lot of YG outros. The decision to take the Bach sample and then put trap drums under it, I do think that's cool and inspired. They just don't really do enough with it. Following it up with In My Hands is definitely a vibe shift in the beginning because it starts off pretty slow before you get that bass drum showing up, and then you realize, oh, this is actually going to be an EDM loop. Yeah, it's just very sparse, that hook, and there's plenty of vocal effects on it that almost smooth out the fact that it's a bit sparse and a bit repetitive. I think I would have been more interested in this song if the verses were a little bit stronger. I thought the rap in verse 2 in particular was pretty flat, so kind of missed potential once again with that song. Favorite song, the acoustic guitar is a bit of a nice vibe shift again, I suppose. The strumming sounds fine. Again, nothing spectacular with the verses. And then Revenge, the last one, a bit more of a twinkly closer. I guess this is the most vocally forward, the most overtly sung of all these songs. Bit ballady, if you will. It's fine. But that's it. 5 tracks. Will Didi Ro Re be a hit? Don't think so. If Burnin' Up wasn't a big hit, I don't know why that one would be. I do think that sample is cool. I do think using the Bach sample has potential on social media to be something to have some virality to it. I'm sure they're going to try their hardest for that to be the case. We'll see. But I do think Meow at least is continuing to operate largely in the same mode to this point. They're not like drastically changing their genres and trying to follow all these different trends the way we've seen some other groups that are of a similar age to them doing. That is refreshing. I think long term, the fact that these members are involved in the creation of their music to the degree that they are is a good sign. And I think they just need to continue to work at it and come into their own, because I think that vocal talent has been pretty clear the whole time. So I think better days are ahead. But let me know, what'd you think of Meow's second EP, Bite Now? What'd you like most about it? Let me know. And for more music reviews, more K-pop reviews, subscribe. And I'll see you next time.